And the key thing is that a lot of families want to have choices towards retirement, not just to have one HDB all the way until the end, and finally at that stage, then you realize that, hey, I actually had the ability during my highest income producing years to do something in my property portfolio so that I can stay and at the same time let my property appreciate while me and my family enjoy the property. And that's the key thing, is that how do you increase your portfolio valuation? And that's the same for this particular client of ours as well. So when they hit their MOP, they were thinking about how can they expand their valuation in terms of their portfolio, and we helped them to shift to a 3-bedder resale condo. Back then, there was a key need that a resale condo will be more suitable for them because they needed to stay immediately. They are the type of families that prefer not to rent, and because there's a school-going need as well for their kids. So they went to a resale condo. This was purchased for them in 2015. And then in 2020, we helped them to exit. And that was when this interview took place. And of course, what happened next was that we helped them to exit from their condominium at 1.35 million. This was the caveat that was lodged. And then we helped them to enter into a 3-bedder penthouse at 1.565 million. So from here, exited 1.35 from the condo, 3-bedder, and then went on into 1.565 million. This is a 3-bed penthouse at about 2,000 over square feet. Now, back then in October 2020, during that season, what was happening was that this was after the COVID period, and of course, a lot of people back then were going into new launches. And those people that went to new launches, of course, from then until today, they also see quite a fair bit of gains as well. But when we strategize for this particular family, take note that when it comes to property investment, and especially if this is your first pivot property's definition, let me just digress a little bit. It means that this is the main property that you're occupying, but how can we structure it and how can we analyze it in the sense that while you're occupying it, you can still see gains. And we call it stayvesting. That means while you stay in a property that has the elements of investment, so that there's a stayvesting kind of strategy. So my advice to this family was that go for this one. I identified that this is in the season. So we're going to talk about this keyword called in the season. So when we invest in a condo, we want to ask ourselves, is this condo in the right season for us to enter? What do I mean by in the season? It means that does it have a capability in the next 3 to 5 years to see more ROI, return on capital, versus another form of property? So if this property has a higher capacity to be in the season compared to the other property, we should go for this one because it has a higher potential to hit the first 2 punch points, which is appreciation potential is going to be higher, ease of exit is going to be easier. So we identified this, and I told them that the key focus was that the quantum was beautiful for this size. It hit the trifecta triangle, having size, having very, very low PSF. Just have a look at the PSF, it's extremely low. And it also has the size to suit their needs. It has a quantum that minimizes the risk. And it was only a slight increment of about 200,000 from where they exited. And it was technically like a doubling up in size as well. So fast track until today, in the year 2024, what happened was that we have successfully helped this family to exit at 2.42 million. So in about less than 4 years, this was an increment of 855,000 in terms of paper gain. And of course, less of your costs and stuff like that, easily netting close to about 800,000. And of course, when you look at this, this is in 2024. Now they're at another stage. We have already helped them to purchase another property, increasing further in terms of their expansion plans for their portfolio, but of course, also suiting on to their needs as well. And most of the time when this entire structure is being done, the most important key thing is that how can we balance some of the preferences, but not jeopardizing the investment fundamental. And if let's say you're somebody that is in this season, that you're thinking about how can you really restructure your entire portfolio and plan it forward, and reduce some form of like maybe emotional attachment in the sense that, you know, when I mentioned in the free webinar, I talk a lot about emotional attachment to the current property. And I talk about this thing that, you know, you can always buy back the same property or buy back the same project when you hit 55, when your kids grow up. You can always choose to enjoy back the property that you once loved. Even at age, let's say like after 5, 8 or 10 years after doing some portfolio restructuring, you can still go back to the previous property. There's always a choice because the minimum holding period is 3 years, which is your seller stamp duty. So this, currently, for this particular family, they have already moved on. We have helped them to exit this place at 2.42 million. And of course, now we have further helped them to shift to the next property, which is something that they love in terms of location as well as the size as well.